Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Environmental Coffee House. It is Sandy Schoelles and Jennifer Hynes, and we are
Hello.
back. Yes, after a little hiatus. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello, Sandy. Hello, everybody. So
Oh,
great to be here with you tonight.
it is. It really is, and we have
Yeah,
a packed show. So
we
it's
do.
it's it's going to be a little hard for chat tonight for me, but because we have such a packed show. But we hope you'll enjoy it. So Jen, what's been
hmm
going on? What's been going on?
Well, actually, a really weird thing happened today. Come to
What?
think of it, I was on a meeting with my boss actually, and I have this Jabra speaker where it has like all the sound masking and everything, but my
Yeah.
windows were open, and all of a sudden this big bolt of lightning struck, and it was so close and it was so loud, and I actually squealed on the call, and I'm like, ah!
Oh my
And my boss was like, Jen, what's going on?
God.
And I'm like, didn't you hear that? It was like this giant bolt of lightning and in this big thunder just hit. And she goes, she didn't hear a thing because this Jabra speaker, it's all noise masking and it
Right.
only recognizes when I'm speaking and it masks everything else. So it's
Wow,
like,
that's good. That's
yeah,
like these do. It has settings
yeah,
for the
yeah,
background. That's cool, but you have had a lot of weather, and we're
yes,
going to talk about that because
yes,
in our fun-filled packed show, which is not
yeah.
actually fun-filled, we've got a lot of stuff to entertain you guys tonight. So,
We do.
yeah, and well, Jennifer, you want to go
Yeah,
over what we're gonna do? And you
yeah,
look beautiful,
absolutely.
Jennifer.
Oh, thank you. So do you, darling. Okay, guys,
Okay.
we're going to get down and dirty today. So, our first article is from the Daily Coast, The Point of No
Yeah, the
Return.
Daily Ghost.
The Point of No Return, and this is by Sninky Poo, right? That is that is this bloggist's name, Sninky Poo.
Yeah.
And actually, Sandy put this entire show together. I think I memorized it. Then we have a slideshow, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a video with about deep sea mining,
Oh
correct?
yeah.
And we
Yep.
also are just gonna give kind of homage to
Well, we're
Planet
going through,
Trackers.
yeah, their report.
Yeah, this the sky high of deep sea mining, and then we're gonna end up with one of our faves, guys. We're knee deep in the age of collapse by one of our faves, Umair
Umer,
Haig.
who actually answered me on Twitter the other day, and I shared
Awesome.
a video I made with him because he was in
Awesome.
distress and he was saying that how does he deal with this? And I said, I garden, I grow food, and I make really dark videos. That's how I get it out. And I suppose he watched it because after I put it in on Twitter, a bunch of views got on that video. So
Oh,
that was
good.
the WASF one with George Carlin at the end. You know the dance the Joker dancing. Oh,
Mhm.
that's a good one. It's dark. It's dark.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, Scott, stripped by the oceans. What could possibly go wrong? All right,
Go ahead,
so
guys. Knock
we
yourself
are,
out.
yeah, right. We're going to start. I am going to pull up the, whoops. All right. I'm a little rusty because we haven't done a live stream in a while. Oops, that's the wrong one. Okay, Jen, here we go. Take it away.
Okay, guys, here we go. The Point of No Return by Sninky Poo. All right. Climate nears point of no return as land sea temperatures break records, experts say. Singapore, June 30th, Reuters. The target of keeping long term global warming within 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit, is moving out of reach. Climate experts say, with nations failing to set more ambitious goals despite months of record breaking heat on land and sea. As envoys gather in Bonn in early June to prepare for this year's annual climate talks in November, average global surface air temperatures were more than 1.5 C above pre industrial levels for several days, the EU funded Copernicus Climate Change Services said. So, is that it? Is it game over? Is it really all hopeless and pointless from here on out? Where do we go from here? What steps can we take? Do we begin to grieve, start processing, make our own personal final plans? Depending on our age, do we start looking for a refuge, a bolt hole for the next few decades? Do we gather our kids and our pets and move someplace north where we can go off grid and maybe eke out a living as the globe heats and the growing seasons change and crops fail and the weather grows hotter and wetter and wilder and more savage? Do we stay where we are and hope for the best? That's all most people can afford, let's face it. If you live in Texas, Louisiana, or Mexico, or southern Italy or Spain or India, do you just stay put and swelter, try to find cooling stations, buy as much water as possible, plan ahead for the nearest watering hole? What do we do? This isn't a drill. This isn't a warning. This isn't a shot across the bow, after which we will all have time to regroup, plan, make sober decisions. That time is long past. We are literally, not figuratively, out of time for sober, stepwise, business as usual legislative fixes and palatable compromises. This is it. This is the climate catastrophe, and we are staring down its barrel this summer. June 28th. Ooh. June 28th, 2023. Shit is getting real from the climate revolution. I guess that's a hashtag. #climate revolution.
Maybe.
The experts are gathering in November in Bonn, like whooshing in on a GHG spewing private jets equipped with icy air conditioning, Veuve Clicquot on ice, and every mod con of which the inventive minds of the ultra wealthy can conceive. This August, gathering will include the one and only climate envoy, placid, plodding, reliable, old hand, John Kerry. Hello, John. There will be fossil fuel lobbyists and fossil fuel industry leaders in attendance as well, because of course there will. And they will glad hand one another and grab drinks after sessions and take little side trips to see sights and have a lovely time intoning blah, 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 blah,
Blah.
blah. They will feel very serious and very accomplished, and not one good goddamn actual thing will get done. At a similar gathering 8 years ago, countries agreed in Paris in 2015 to keep long-term average temperature rises within 1.5 C. That did fuck all, because per Reuters piece linked above, quote, there is now a 66% likelihood that annual temperature mean will cross 1.5 degree threshold for at least one whole year between now and 2027, the World Meteorological Organization predicted in May. So really, I am seriously putting the question to you. Now what? What do we do? What are we doing? What we are doing is not working. Fancy experts and re-election focused career politicians and skeevy lobbyists talking in fancy conference rooms has done nothing. The numbers do not lie. Emissions have gone up since the much ballyhooed Paris Climate 2015 gathering, and they show no signs of abating. We can argue in the comments and on Twitter and on Mastodon until we are blue in the face about renewables and EVs and wind farms and recycling and our personal CO2 footprint and how well the personal solar revolution is going. It makes no difference. Emissions are going up. That's all that matters. As they rise, our president continues to sign new drilling permits. He has not declared a climate emergency. His hair is quite clearly not on fire as it should be. Certain amount of warming is, of course, already baked in, even if greenhouse gas emissions go flat starting tomorrow. But even given that, it is madness, utter and complete barking, howling lunacy to continue the path we have been treading. No matter what else must drive emissions down, which will at least have salient effects of not making things bloody worse. So, what do we need from Joe Biden? Bullet. At a bare minimum, we need to keep the president the president to declare a climate emergency and then work with his capable cabinet officials to immediately launch a sensible system of rationing. We must ration gas, air travel, energy consumption by homes and businesses. We need to ration meat and sharply contract footprint of meat industry. We need to limit frivolous water consumption for now antiquated follies like golf courses, casino fountains, and lawns in the desert. We need to ration how many cars an individual can purchase and how often they can be replaced with a new vehicle, and how energy efficient new or replacement vehicles, how energy efficient a new replacement vehicle must be. And there is so much more, much more, which I am relying on the federal boffins to know and write into the plan. Yes, 1 minute.
Take two.
Yeah. Here we go, guys. The federal government could start by allocating a mere 5% of the 2024 defense budget of $824 billion in order to free up $42 billion to kick this work off. It would be great, at least a fucking start. So, what is my plan? My plan is to do everything in my power, working, of course, with many other activists, because who am I to think that anyone will listen just to me, to kick off a massive movement of nonviolent direct action that will take these demands not to the streets where they can be ignored, but to the White House, to ExxonMobil headquarters, and to Congress. Occupy, resist, do not leave until we are heard. Sit down, sit in, and stay. They can't arrest us all. But to do this, 1 million or more participants are necessary. 1 million or more climate activists committed to this cause. Who is with us? Remember, acting did not work. Voting did not work. Marching did not work. Emissions keep going up. Our leaders have failed us, but we have the power to try and save ourselves.
Ooh.
Heavy
Well,
hitting.
Yeah, and let's see
Heavy
what her
hitting.
name really is. It's well, Kira Thompson Cheek. And you
Oh,
can
yeah?
follow her, but I don't really read the Daily Coast, but I got my attention because they don't typically put in this well, maybe they do, I don't know, because I don't really read it, but this was pretty doomy
It's
with
pretty,
a little hopium ending, but
yeah, it was pretty hard hitting.
yeah, it was good. Thank you for
Yeah.
reading that. Well,
Thank
now guys, we're going to move over, and we have our presentation set up, and we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about us. We're going to talk about the heat. And I'll get us started. So, Jennifer lives in Colorado, and I live in Western New York. So, what I thought we would do is show you guys what the hell is happening where we live.
Icky and sticky are back. Yes, there's also an opportunity for a shower or thunderstorm going into this afternoon, but I wouldn't cancel any plans over it. I think most of these will be popping south and east of Buffalo and also just off to our north. Air quality right now is at 160. That is squarely in the unhealthy category. So just take it slow and easy out there. As far as that wildfire smoke is concerned, there is less smoke here back to our south and west. Once the winds do shift into the south and west, we're going to find a lot of this smoke lifting back into Canada. And so that should help with the air quality, especially as we head into later tonight and also into our Saturday as well. But again, you will still notice the haze and, of course, the building heat and humidity.
It's like every week we are just getting these insane thunderstorms to move on through. So we have a tornado watch in place through 9 o'clock tonight. Still includes the Denver area, parts of the foothills, and out on the eastern plains. So there is still the threat of some bigger weather still through the night. What northwestern Colorado? Some moderate to heavy rain in Moffett County. We've had some heavy rain down in southeastern Colorado. The severe threat has gone down in this area, but we have had a couple severe thunderstorms in Los Animas County. But really the wild stuff so far today has been in the Denver area. And that orange blob that pops through, the radar query on the radar is showing the potential for up to 3.3 inches in diameter. That's between baseball and softball sized hail in that area right now. So there is the potential for some whopper hail. Now it's down to about 2.6, but again, it was humongous just about 15 minutes ago. So.
Jennifer, she talks so fast. Yeah, tell me.
He does.
Tell us about
it. So I live in a semi-arid place. We get on average 18 inches of rain a year here, just, to the east of the Continental Divide, looking at the foothills, but, directly onto the plains. In the month of June, this month that we're currently in, of which this is the last day, we have gotten 8.1 inches of rain in the month of June, which doesn't really happen. This place looks like Northern Virginia. When the rain comes down, it's like tropical. It's unusual.
I also understand you guys, though, for the first time in years, Colorado is out of the drought. Out of the drought.
No, it is. It's out of the drought. It's a blessing. This place does not look like it usually does.
Good. Out of the drought. All right. So that's good news. Good news for you, I hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great news.
I'm just tired of having to go outside with my leftover N95 masks on to do yard work, which I was outside today. But I'm wearing them because, you know what? Yeah, I smoke weed once in a while, but I'm sorry. I don't know what's in that air. I don't know what, has been picked up that's not just forest fire smoke. It's particulate matter that gets picked up by the smoke. So it's dropping it all over everything. And look at that, Jennifer.
Just amazing. It's kind of like the whole cap of the top of the continent is just ablaze from the west coast to the east coast. It's just kind of a solid little ring of fire through that boreal forest. It's so sad.
It hurts. It hurts.
This is the great burning. Those trees, all that carbon, of course. Not to mention billions of trees going up in flames. God. We get a lot of oxygen from the boreal forest as well. Yeah. A very rich ecosystem. All that carbon, all that smoke, it can go both ways. It can go up and settle on the remainder of the Arctic sea ice. That'll just, darken the albedo even more. So it's a very serious situation. I feel that this is pivotal, kind of like apocalyptic, you might say. It's the freaking great burning.
You might say. Well, even, Paul Beckwith had his video today, which he's been very somber looking and tired. And he looks tired. And, it's not easy for any of us that do report all this to do it. And
it's true.
Nobody knows what goes on behind the scenes. I let it out by making doomy and gloomy and, we are so fucked videos. But I've been I've been very depressed, guys, and I mean, quite frankly, and it started with the ocean heat. It started with the
That was very.
enormity, yeah, and knowing what's going on, and plus I have there's an illness in my family, and I'm just trying to deal with a lot of things. But we're here and we're back, and this is where we belong, with you.
Yeah.
So let's move on. This is the look at that. 18, this was what, yesterday? 18 new fires yesterday, because I was working on this for 2 days. 486 active fires, 3,007 year to date, and 8.8 million, 8 million hectares.
Oh my God. It's heartbreaking. And this is the great burning. Look at it. And the
Look
same
at
thing
it.
is happening in Siberia on the
Oh, yeah,
other
we're
end.
getting
So
there.
it's kind of the whole ring of.
Ring of Fire, baby. Ring
Yeah,
of Fire. I wish I could play Oh, the Ring of Fire, but I'm not. Get a copyright. So
No,
we
we're good.
move from the fires and then we look at the smoke. And look at that.
Oh my
Look at that.
God.
It's
Oh my
all
God.
over the world.
Oh my God. Look at that.
I think I'll show once again. That's all over the world. It is just crazy. So with all that smoke, I don't know if everybody understands about air quality other than looking at their app on their phone to tell them what air quality is. So I'm going to play this guy. I thought he did a very good job. And we're going to learn about air quality because honest to God, before that first air quality thing this year, I never gave a shit or looked at it. So let's make sure he works. And here we go.
With forest fires raging, you might be thinking more about air quality and what to do when it gets smoky. But how do we know if the air quality is bad and what can you do to protect yourself? First off, air pollution is measured a few different ways. The Air Quality Index measures the amount of stuff that's bad for you to breathe in. There are different kinds of stuff, but the most relevant here is particulate matter, tiny, even microscopic pollutants that float in the air. Smaller stuff, the more dangerous it is because it can go deep into your lungs, even into your bloodstream. The Air Quality Index, that number represents the amount of particulate matter less than 2.5 micrometers in size. That's 1/1,000,000th of a meter. Measured in micrograms, 1/1,000,000th of a gram per cubic meter of air. You don't need to remember that. What you do need to remember is this. Basically, 0 to 50 means good, 50 to 150 means not good, and over 150 means bad. In Montreal on the Saint Jean long weekend, when it looked super hazy and a bit apocalyptic, the air quality index was over 200. There's also the Air Quality Health Index, which is used by Environment Canada. Instead of a complex math equation, it simplifies everything to a scale of 1 to 10 plus, which represents the level of risk to your health. It factors in particulate matter, but also other dangerous things in the air like ozone and nitrogen dioxide. All of those can be found, by the way, in forest fire smoke. So now you're asking, what should I do with those index levels? Here's what the experts say. If index levels are somewhere in the middle, people who are particularly vulnerable, people with asthma, the elderly, young children, should take precautions. If levels are in the upper third, everybody should. That's why things like the Mont Tremblant Ironman competition and Montreal's outdoor rec sites were shut down when public health warned we'd entered a very high risk period. In general, very high risk means avoiding exercise or strenuous activity outdoors. Staying indoors and keeping your windows closed is even better. When there are smog warnings in place, it's one of the few times that the air outdoors is actually filled with more harmful stuff than the air indoors. If you're worried about your indoor air, get an air purifier with a good filter like a HEPA filter. Air conditioners, at least if it's central AC, also have filters, but window air conditioners don't help the same way. If you do choose to go outside, coughing and throat irritation are symptoms to watch out for. Wearing a mask like an N95 doesn't hurt. It will filter out the harmful particles in the air. Ultimately, if the air is bad from, say, forest fire smoke, you'll know it because you'll smell it and you'll see it. If it looks something like this and smells like a campfire, it might be best to stay indoors.
My house.
Or at least maybe skip that bike ride.
Okay. So
Wow.
I thought that was a nifty little, video that we would add in. And here is air quality. This is air quality
Wow.
in the United States right now. And it just seems wafting into the Northeast. They love us. I don't know. We love you, Canada. We love you no matter what. And we feel for you. It hurts. It hurts. All right. Well, now we are going to move over and go into a little heat and a little temperature. And this is the anomaly. This is the anomaly. And we're seeing the changes that are happening. This was June 29th. But, you can see the differences. And of course, I don't have all of the different slides to compare and contrast. But this is where we are. And more information can be found at this web address, so you can go back. It's the NOAA. That's how this was made, was using data from here. All right.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
And
It's very intense.
then these are the temperatures in the United States in Fahrenheit, of course. Because what are we, the only stupid country in the world that uses it, Jennifer? We stand out in so many ways and things I'm not proud
Yes.
of. But it was hot in the South and Texas, and they're just, they're getting hurt. And it is, I mean, Florida's normal at this time of year, but look at these temperatures, 106. It's June. Really? It's hot.
It's rough, yeah. Big heat dome.
And this was Tuesday. They called it the heat dome. Yep.
Yeah.
So now, guys, we're taking it to Siberia.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you can see, but these were high temperatures, 32. They were in the 80s. And so what I did was I brought this in, Jen, to show you, like, we can look at the temperatures here, but to really show you, because anybody can make these maps or whatever, but what's the climate in Siberia? And what's the min and the max? See down there, Jen?
Yeah.
So the max in June is 75 Fahrenheit, 24 C. So typically it's not like that. But look at this week. This is Siberia, folks. Thunderstorms, 87, 88. I mean, no relief. They're getting rain. They're getting our weather. I mean, it's crazy.
Sandy, this is Abby normal.
Yeah, it's Abby fucking normal is right. And I mean, you've studied Siberia and permafrost. You know what this is doing
Yes, I do.
to the permamush.
This is, the permafrost will be permafrost no more, and as it decomposes into its permamush, all the scientists are always scared of what's going to happen when the permafrost thaws and all the gases kind of come out, and that is what's going to happen. It's just going to add to the heat. Everything now is adding to the heat. These fires all across Siberia and all across Canada are going to add to the heat and change things in so many ways. This is a planet disaster, what's happening right now. Really is.
It is. It's quite a disaster.
Oh.
All right, we're going to move on though. So we've looked at Siberia, and I mean it is shocking. And now we are moving to China, and Huaijia in Fahrenheit 104.72, and up there in Linzhou 102, and yes, it gets hot, but what I wanted to make sure I put in averages so that, again, you can make a map and say, well, and people could say, well, China's hot at that time of year. But then you look at the mins and max, and usually this time it's maybe 85, not 102. Not 104 in June.
Unbelievable.
With a low of 73. So, I mean, they have a hot season, but even this says, it's like 85 degrees. And
dear.
yeah. And, oh dear, that's China. Next, we're looking at South America. Yeah. You want to read it?
Summer in winter in South America. Today, 6:27, it was the fourth consecutive day of greater than 32 degrees C in northern Argentina and 34 C in Paraguay, with temperatures near record levels. Temperatures also reached 36.6 C at Villamontes in Bolivia.
Yep.
The heat will take a break and come back even stronger in July.
So there's another, anomaly. And then we move to Australia.
Ooh, look at that welt.
Yeah. This is more summer warmth in this Australian winter. And Queensland keeps beating records of high temperatures, and today more records fell. 32C Emerald, 32.8 Blackall. Next day, Northern Territory will be an unusual cold spell, and snow could fall in some mountain peaks, which is very rare. So the juxtaposition between the days is quite apparent, huh? Any Australians with us? Anybody from Australia in the audience? You could tell us. Just put a, Q in front of your comment and I could see it. So that's Australia.
Wow. Unbelievable.
And then
What next?
we're moving to Iran. And Iran is also living the harshest heat wave in its history, with weeks of relentless heat. Today's record high temperatures for June were broken in more stations. Most important was Azad and Esfahan. Look at that. Look at these temperatures, 42. So I put this in. See, I dragged this in because I wanted to show where we were talking about. So you can look at this map right there, and then I can just put this in, and then you see the different places that were so hot for them this year. Yep.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
Iran is suffering. Oh, yeah, they sure are. They're suffering. And then we go. Okay. Spain.
Yeah, I'd heard about this. Oh, my
Yes.
goodness.
So Spain's got, tell us if you're from any of these countries, help us. But I also wanted to bring in extra information. And so like 98.6, it's hot, hot for Spain.
Yeah,
And
very hot.
the climate in June is warm and dry. It's the summer in Granada is typically the fourth warmest month. Okay. Daytime maximum temps average around 81, not 98, 81. And that's a big difference. And Spain weather in June, what is it like? Well, they say perfect. Well, if it gets so goddamn hot, Constantina can go up to 92. There are places, but it's just not quite the way it should be. What do you think, Jennifer?
Yeah, no, these anomalies are unbelievable. And these are actually the temperatures, the actual temperature colors, right? Because you
Yes.
can see this heat dome all the way almost 100 degrees just for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers,
Look at that.
just amazing.
Mhm. Yeah. So, typically though in Granada it's 81 degrees, and that's in June, 81 degrees. So I would say 10 to 15 degrees hot. That's a heat wave. That's definitely a heat wave. So there, nobody's spared. UK is having it too. But now we're going to look at this is Morocco.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
Morocco, 48.5, 119.3 Fahrenheit. in Sidi Slimane. Slimane. And if you look here on the average, and I use different resources, but average and high and low temperature in June 30th today, 91 average, high. It's not a cool country, but not 119.
Oh, God, this is crazy.
Yeah. So
look at the Sahara.
colors.
I mean, the Sahara, you would expect it to be very hot, and I'm sure it's similar, but God, right there. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Very stiff.
Yeah, it's phew.
Amazing.
And here we have Zach Laib's Anomaly.
We love Zach.
Just watch.
That.
I'm not playing music. We're going to be quiet. Look at that. Red, red, redder. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. So while the country is, the world is becoming this, COP28 is coming up. I guess they decided they'd all hop in the same, cruise yacht plane. Oh, it's not really funny. It's really sad.
Sad.
It's sad. It is sad. But I want to attribute extreme temperatures around the world from Twitter, and this is his website. He does a good job. I took some of his stuff, but I had to add because I wanted to make sure that I had what the averages were so that people wouldn't say, well, how do you know it's, not always like that? Because I'm always ready for the challenges. They come. They come.
They do.
Yes. Everybody all right out there? Because we are going to be ready now for another, but this is some entertainment now. We are going to play this video, and it's the primer to what we are doing. So hang on, and remember, I'm just
My name is James Heater from Greenpeace, and I have a message for you and for the Metals Company. We are here as guests in these waters to deliver this message to your company, a Canadian company which is set to cause huge and irreversible harm to the global oceans if you continue to pursue deep sea mining.
You're having a dream. Here's the reality. Oil, natural gas, and coal provide 84% of all the world's energy. That's down just 2 percentage points from 20 years ago. And oil still powers nearly 97% of all global transportation. Contrary to headlines claiming that we're rapidly transitioning away from fossil fuels, it's just not happening. 2 decades and $5 trillion of governments investing in green energy, and we've barely moved the needle. This was supposed to be easy. Why is it so hard? In a word, rocks. To get the same amount of energy from solar and wind that we now get from fossil fuels, we're going to have to massively increase mining by more than 1,000%. This isn't speculation, this is physics. Copper, iron ore, silicon, nickel, chromium, zinc, cobalt, lithium, graphite, and rare earth metals like neodymium. We need them all. And then those metals and materials have to be turned into motors, turbine blades, solar panels, batteries, and hundreds of other industrial components. That also takes lots of energy, which requires even more mining. As the World Bank study put it, these green technologies are in fact significantly more material intensive than our current energy mix. That may be the understatement of the century. Raw materials account for 50 to 70% of the costs to manufacture both solar panels and batteries. Until now, it hasn't really mattered that much because wind and solar still account for only a few percentage points of the global energy supply. They're an applause line for environmentalists, not a major energy player, and it's unlikely they will be in the foreseeable future. But for the sake of argument, let's say we sharply ramp up mining. Where would these new mines be located?
Hidden Gem is Allseas' first deep-sea mining vessel, which is a converted drilling vessel. It has a crew on board of 130 people. We have just completed the first pilot project for Allseas, which was in conjunction with TMC. This was on the Nori D field in the Pacific, where we had to collect nodules at a depth of over 40 kilometers.
My background is primarily deep water exploration and production systems in the oil and gas industry, and that technology has been the basis of the designs for our riser system and the collector system that Allseas have designed in-house and built in-house.
The collector is divided into 3 systems: the pickup system, the processing system and the transfer system. My job on board was to commission these systems and the pumps in these systems to be able to pick up the nodules as efficiently as possible and to reduce the sediment intake into the collector. The collector uses hydraulic flow to pick up nodules and transport them into the hopper. In the hopper they settle through the bottom, and then they are transported upwards through the vertical transport system. Inside the hopper we have a system of pumps that separate the sediment from the nodules, and the sediment is discharged through the diffusers. So the diffusers are used to slow down the flow of sediment coming out of the collector, and they are helping the sediment to settle down as fast as possible.
When we start building the riser, we hang off the jumper onto the drill floor, and then we start building from the drill floor, first with small sections and then lowering down one by one. And the riser itself is over 4 kilometers. The riser system works by pumping air at the depth of 2.5 kilometers, and then by pumping this air the density inside the riser will reduce and be lower than the density outside the riser, and that's including the nodules. So the water will start to flow, the pressure wants to equalize, and that's how the water and the nodules and the air will go up.
We see a future where the ocean is protected, where the ocean is thriving. There is no place for deep sea mining in this future. We know that the Hidden Gem has been test mining in the deep, intending to pull up 3,600 tons of minerals from the ocean floor. This activity, by risking carbon disruption and threatening biodiversity, puts ocean health and therefore the health of our planet at risk. The movement to stop deep sea mining and the companies behind it is strong and is growing exponentially. In the past few weeks, the government of Aotearoa, New Zealand, Germany, Chile and France have all spoken out against deep sea mining. They join the governments of Palau, Samoa, Fiji and the Federated States of Micronesia, which have formed an alliance backing a moratorium, and many more are voicing concerns.
Yeah. What's the worst case scenario? Plan out in your head how it's all gonna go. So you think you got it covered, but there's always something new that you discover you've not thought about. You can never figure out every possible outcome.
All right. So that was the intro to this, the executive summary, but I want to do something before I do that. So did everybody like that video? Did you get the idea?
Oh yeah, pretty amazing.
Okay. Let me open this. All right, so this is the report. Jennifer and I are going to go through this together, and it's really not long, but it's interesting, and I thought that this would be something that all of you would be interested in because it's just another disgusting thing. And so, we talk about the fossil fuel industry, and they, of course, want to definitely put down anything that's not, right? And they have, special interests, but none of this is good. So, Jen, do you want to read the executive summary? You got it pulled up?
Okay, yeah,
All
I
right.
sure do.
Because
I
this
sure
is
do.
good, guys. Learn because I sure have.
Okay, so let's get into it. Land and sea use change is the leading driver of biodiversity loss globally. Deep sea mining has been proposed as an environmentally friendly alternative to conventional land based mining. However, research shows that deep sea mining would cause significant permanent damage deep sea ecosystems and the broader oceans in which they interact. Deep seas are biodiverse but still under research. While only a fraction of the deep sea has been studied, it contains many of the most pristine, biodiverse, and evolutionarily remarkable ecosystems on our planet. Deep sea mining risks destroying undiscovered species and impacting functioning of the global biosphere. Deep sea mining risks environmental damage on a massive scale. Environmental damage is often measured in two dimensions. This report argues that two dimensions, volume and time, need to be considered to evaluate the magnitude of environmental damage, especially for marine ecosystems. Thinking in 3D is especially important for the ocean, where the volume affected by human impacts can be colossal. Time is critical for the recovery of ecosystems. The destruction of a habitat is even worse if it takes millions of years to recover as opposed to a few decades. Nature loss should therefore be examined in 4D. So, there we have it. Analysis estimates that mining minerals critical for energy transition on land impacts biodiversity across 1 to 10 million kilometers to the squared third cubed.
Yeah.
Cube. Deep sea mining would cause impacts on an even larger scale. We estimate the total biosphere impact by nodule mining in abyssal plains in international waters alone would be up to 25 to 75 million cubed kilometers, more than the volume of all fresh water in the world, including ice and snow. The risk of large-scale environmental impacts from deep-sea mining is driven by a combination of the enormous spatial scale of mining activity and the spread of mining-related noise and sediment plumes.
Yeah.
Top of this, like crude oil, the polymetallic nodules at the center of mining interests take tens of millions of years to form. But unlike crude oil, they are an essential habitat for life. Over half of the species living in the Pacific abyssal plains depend on nodules. Much of the habitat and biodiversity loss caused by the deep sea mining would therefore essentially be permanent. Deep sea ecosystems are essentially unrestorable. The International Seabed Authority, ISA, and mining companies have suggested that deep sea ecosystem restoration could be used to mitigate these negative environmental impacts. No details have been provided as to what restoration would look like in practice. Current research indicates that the potential for success, passive and active post-mining deep sea ecosystems restoration is extremely low because of the long-term timescale and huge spatial impact of environmental damage. The cost of deep sea restoration would be astronomical. The use of artificial clay nodules is the only deep sea ecosystem restoration technique being investigated in detail. We have estimated the total cost of artificial nodule-based deep sea ecosystem restoration at, I guess, 5.3 to 5.7 million dollars per square kilometer. Okay, more than the revenue of a typical company would make from mining. So I guess that's not going to happen. The cost of restoration, the cost of restoration would be so high, it would be impossible for deep sea mining companies to pay for it and operate at a profit. However, however, this does not include the cost of monitoring restoration in progress, which could increase this figure significantly given the high cost of transport and remotely operated vehicles needed to access the seabed. In addition, the technology for artificial nodule deployment at scale does not yet exist. And if it did, the evidence so far indicates a low chance of successful restoration.
Yeah, right. So basically, neither public nor private money would cover the cost. And these people are doing this for that. You know, they're saying, don't invest your money in this. It's not worth it, basically. So they had an environmental compensation fund. It was proposed to fund ecosystem restoration as part of a mining code being developed. But their analysis found that this fund cannot be sufficiently capitalized to cover the estimated cost of restoration. So restoring only 30% of potential deep sea mining concessions in international waters would likely cost more than the entire global defense budget. And yeah, it's crazy. And so there is also little evidence that this fund, and of course, like everything, it's about money, and current draft restoration regulation has considered best practice from terrestrial mining restoration regulation, including cost estimates. This could risk governments and taxpayers footing the bill, as indicated by examples from terrestrial mining. And they say the governance of deep sea restoration has been neglected. The current lack of transparency and accountability around the roles and responsibilities of the ISA, sponsoring states, and other parties pose a significant risk to the enforcement of the post-mining deep sea ecosystem restoration, which, I mean, post-mining, you know, they're talking all these, you know, years in the future, but there are limited opportunities. Okay. So basically what they're saying is call to action. Support financial institutions should support a moratorium on this. And then there's a whole introduction, and they talk about this with the financially material for vast majority of companies. Stock market prices are rarely directly impacted by nature-related events. Yet, when the video of the deep sea mining trials, which is what I used in the opening to this, surfaced, showing the potential for significant negative environmental impacts, the price of its shares, admittedly volatile, reacted significantly and negatively. And I want to say something, Jen, about that. So I was reading the comments section for that company when I was looking at their videos and stuff. And the comment sections were a bunch of people saying, oh, yes, this is great. Let's invest, and look, this is so much better than doing it on terrestrial land. And these are planet eaters. These people don't give a shit about the ocean. And this report knows that, you know. So there was a purpose, a methodology, and a scope. And maybe we're not going to go through the exact whole thing, but what they want to do is provide a practical working resource for financial institutions to understand and assess their exposure to the environmental risks associated with this. And there's a lot, right? So the overall aim is to empower investors to better integrate nature and marine diversity into capital allocation decisions. So what is it? What is it? Jen, take it from here. Tell us, what the hell is this?
What the hell is this?
What is it?
What is deep sea mining? Why? That section?
Yeah.
Deep sea mining refers to the extraction of metals and minerals from the deep sea floor, which covers around 50% of the Earth's surface, representing 95% of the global biosphere. There has been a surge of interest in deep sea mining in recent years, driven by the forecast rise in demand for metals, for technology and low carbon transition, and increasing global metal prices. So, where is it? While the deep sea is technically considered to be below 200 meters, most of the mineral deposits currently under exploration are greater than 1,500 meters below the sea surface. Major mineral reserves on the deep seabed have been known for decades, but no commercial scale deep sea mining has taken place to date within national waters or international waters, where rules are currently under negotiation by the International Seabed Authority. What is it? The most important elements that could be mined from the seabed are copper, cobalt, manganese, nickel, zinc, silver, and gold. Three types of deep sea mineral deposits are of commercial interest: polymetallic nodules, seafloor massive sulfides, and cobalt rich crusts. This report focuses on the impact of mining polymetallic nodules, as they have received the most commercial interest to date, particularly in the Clarion-Clipperton zone. How is it done? Currently, polymetallic module mining is envisaged to use remotely operated vehicles to collect
like the
nodules.
Titanic vehicle that went down. Are
You
they going to put
know.
little submarines down there? All right, not to make light.
Yeah.
Yes, we smile a
I
lot.
know. It's all sad. We have to smile, otherwise cry.
Yes.
To collect nodules from the seafloor and pump them via vertical riser pipe to a support vessel or a boat before being transported to land for processing. So basically, they're going around and they're sucking up all these polymetallic nodules that are just lying around on the ocean floor. They're just there and they've never been picked up before. So they're sending all these remotely operated vehicles to pick up all these metal rich nodules, and they're screwing
horrible.
everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so here's the impacts. There are over 100 papers exploring the direct and indirect impacts of deep sea mining, most of which focus on the impact of nodule mining on the seafloor, although studies on other deposits are underway. From this research has emerged the broad scientific consensus that deep sea mining vehicles and sediment plumes would cause significant damage to the deep sea ecosystems and the broader ocean ecosystems with which they react. Interact. Yet the reality could be worse, since many of the effects of deep sea mining remain unstudied and their scale is largely unknown. When has that ever stopped us, right? This section provides an overview of the key direct and indirect environmental impacts. So this is what it looks like down there. And they want to scoop it all up and without any regard to all the life that's in there and depends on it. So these are just showing you the support vessel and all of the mechanics of how it works and how they're going to suck it up with these stupid ass machines and get all the crap, get the goods. Because we have to suck everything out of the entire planet.
And it takes millions of years to regenerate. Millions of years.
Yeah, I hear you.
Amazing.
Potential risks. So it's not to scale, but it's under-researched. It's a highly sensitive biome. And the argument that deep sea mining is more environmentally friendly often hinges on the false assumptions that the deep sea is largely devoid of life. Whose idea is that?
Somebody who
Some
doesn't know
moron.
anything.
Yeah, morons. While only a fraction of the deep sea has been scientifically studied, it contains many of the most pristine, biodiverse, and evolutionary, remarkable ecosystems on the planet. Serious concerns have been raised about the potential of deep sea mining to disturb undiscovered organisms. For instance, a recent study found that from a total of 5,578 species recorded in the Clarion-Clipperton Zone, which is the equatorial eastern Pacific, 92% were new to science. Yep. But you see, the shareholders and the capitalists and the businesses, they don't care, and that's why they're destroying Thacker Pass, where Max Wilbert is protesting. All of the little wildlife are going to be kaput. So here, this is pretty interesting. The deep sea ecosystems are also known to provide the full range of ecosystem services and are highly interconnected with broader ocean ecosystems. And the connections between deep sea inhabitants and wider global functioning are poorly understood, raising concerns about potential unknown broader impacts of sea mining. And, you know, Jennifer, right now somebody said all the whales are washing ashore. There's whales, and I don't remember exactly where it was, washing ashore. I mean, how much more do we want to assault till we destroy everything? And we don't know when that will be, but we're on our way. So biodiversity. So you guys will be able to look at this because the link will be in there. But this is an illustration of processes, including the primary productivity and the biological bump and connectivity. And they, you know, of course, it's not to scale, but you see microbes on the seabed. And they in the nodules, they actually sequester CO2, right? And there's carbon cycling. It's quite sophisticated. So I really hope you guys go, because in the interest of time, we're not going to go through it totally deeply. We probably could have done a whole show on just this report. Jen, we'll go?
Yeah. The sediment that makes up the deep sea floor would also be compacted, removed, and redeposited by deep sea mining machinery. Sediments may take centuries to recover, along with microbes they host, which all life on the abyssal plain depends on, and the natural sedimentation rate of the Clarion-Clipperton Zone is less than 1 centimeter per 1,000 years. So that's just going to take centuries and centuries to even regenerate this sediment. Deep sea mining has the potential to be particularly damaging because of the enormous spatial scale of mining activity and its direct environmental impact. Over 1.5 million square kilometers of international seabed has been set aside for deep sea mining exploration. This is about the size of Mongolia, or more than the total area of sea trawled by bottom trawlers. In addition, countries may have also awarded hundreds of thousands of square kilometers of seabed concessions for potential mining. Norway, for instance, has granted 232 square kilometers, 1,000 square kilometers of seabed concessions for mineral exploration.
Well, why not? They don't care.
Forecasts suggest that several hundred to 1,000 square kilometers of seabed could be disturbed each year by a single polymetallic nodule mining operation. In comparison, terrestrial mining is currently estimated to cover 57,000 to 66,000 square kilometers of land, which is about the size of Latvia or 1,000 Manhattans. Therefore, even if only 5% of deep sea concessions in international waters was mined, which would be 75,000 100,000 square kilometers, it would still be larger than the total area mined on land today. Deep sea mining therefore risks directly causing habitat loss and damage to sensitive marine ecosystems on an enormous scale, with a much larger land or seabed footprint than terrestrial mining. Many of these impacts could be essentially permanent, particularly with the loss of nodules, which takes millions of years to form. Ugh, this is rough,
Yeah,
man.
it's rough. I lost where we were.
Sediment plumes and noise amplify DSM impacts. The main indirect impacts of deep sea mining are associated with the sediment plumes and noise created by mining activity, which could have far reaching impacts on ocean ecosystems. For example, seabed communities could be smothered, toxic metals may be released, deep sea fisheries could be contaminated, and nutrients could be introduced into otherwise nutrient poor ecosystems. While these impacts are relatively understudied, existing research indicates they are likely to be very difficult to control and contain due to the highly interconnected and dynamic nature of the ocean. Estimates for the total area of ocean that would be impacted by deep sea mining vary widely. However, scientists agree that noise and sediment plumes from equipment disturbing the seabed and surface dewatering processes could have far reaching effects on broader ocean ecosystems. Sediment plumes alone could spread hundreds to thousands of kilometers in the water column. So the overall area affected by deep sea mining would at least be 2 to 4 times larger than the area mined. Research has also shown that in gentle weather conditions, the sound from a single nodule mining operation could travel 500 kilometers.
And think about the sea life.
Oh my God. This is so sad. This is just savage.
I hate it.
I hate it. Within a 4 to 6 kilometer radius, the sound would be above 120 decibels, the threshold that denotes the possibility of behavioral impacts on marine mammals. The total area of 5.5 million square kilometers would be impacted by noise louder than ambient sound levels experienced in gentle weather conditions. We estimate the total area of biodiversity impacted by nodule mining in abyssal plains in international waters alone would be up to 12.4 million square kilometers. This is assuming impacts would extend within a 500-kilometer radius of operations, accounting for sediment plumes and noise generated by deep sea mining. This is an enormous area. If it was a country, it would be the second largest behind Russia and China.
And they won't stop there.
They just have to stop.
I mean, look,
this is so
it's
bad.
Insane. Yeah, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So importantly, given how sound and sediment plumes travel, biodiversity impacts for deep sea mining have to be measured in the 3, not the 2. and that's the anyway. What we're going to do is go down a little bit. I think we're going to go down to, this. All right. Deep sea mining would barely reduce mining-related deforestation. So supporters of deep sea mining also often point to the damage caused by nickel mining in the rainforests of Indonesia as an issue that could be mitigated by mining the deep sea. Greenwashing. But would deep sea mining reduce deforestation? Mining is the fourth largest driver of deforestation behind agriculture, infrastructure, and urban expansion. And mining related deforestation has almost doubled in the 2010s compared to the previous decade. However, 71% of the deforestation caused by mining is linked to just two commodities: gold and coal. These two commodities were responsible for a combined 6,877 kilometer
to the square kilometers.
Square, that's it. I had it all down. Square kilometers of forest lost between 2001 and 2019. So you can see here the breakdown, right there. God, it makes me never think I wear silver. This makes me so mad here. So in comparison, the mining of copper, cobalt, nickel, and manganese, the metals present in deep sea nodules, led to 997 of forest loss over the same period, 12% of all mining-related deforestation. So basically, it's not aligned with global goals to protect and restore nature, is it, Jennifer?
It's really sad. This is one of the saddest articles I've seen, this big report. It's worth going through, guys, in your own time. It's 38 pages, just to let you know. This will be posted in the show notes, Deep Sea Mining. It's a PDF.
Yeah.
And
they're saying, because they're saying it post-sea ecosystem restoration is an illusion. Like they're never going to restore what they destroy.
It's never going to happen.
This is never going to happen.
They're going to screw up the terrestrial thing with the land mining and kill all the trees. The rest of the trees will burn. Then they're going to screw up the oceans and get all these nodules and basically wipe out all life down there. And it'll take 1 million years to restore itself. We are beyond despicable, humanity
for this.
That we do this.
So it's just we want you guys to read this if you want to, and they talk about the cost, which of course this is geared so that people that are thinking of investing in this, but they won't care, because if they invest and they make money off the top, they won't care about restoration. And like they said in the beginning, it'll fall to taxpayers or countries or whatever, and it won't be these rich whatevers. So, but look, see, even what I said, and here's their little graphic of money, 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 money. So please, guys, I'm just showing you to the rest, but I would, hopefully you'll all want to learn about this and how they figure it, and the different kinds of estimates and how they do it, and then the funny thing that you remember in the beginning of the compensation fund to cover the restoration of these ecosystems in the post-mining deep sea rehab. Okay, I'm done. It's not fit for the purpose, they say. So it's a very good, and they have a lack of transparency, conflicts of interest. I mean, they're done. They don't want to do it. They're saying, don't do this. Nope. None of it. They don't want any of it. So I'm just going to jump down to the bottom, because they talk about who they are, and they have a lot of references that they did cite. So it's a cited report. And I look forward to learning a little bit more about Planet Tracker.
Very interesting, huh?
Yeah. And
thanks for finding this.
And I'm sorry, guys, if we're ignoring the chat a little bit, but we are super duper on the time thing. So if you guys put a Q in front of anything that you want me or Jen to look at the end, because she's going to then slide right into Umair this week.
We're going to slide right in. Shall we slide right in?
Yeah, and he won't be kicking the can. No. Okay.
All right, guys, here we go. We're knee deep in the age of collapse, along with 3 levels of extinction and where we are now. All right, Umair, let's take it away. Maybe once upon a time, you thought that when I said things like age of collapse, I was being dramatic, emotional, provocative. And yet, here we are. A smoke plume the size of a continent drifts over the Atlantic. You can smell Canada burning in Chicago, taste in the haze over Europe. And meanwhile, I woke up to the headline that, LOL, Britain's water system has literally collapsed. Hard to get more literal than that. So here we are, knee deep in the age of collapse. How are we doing? Let's talk about it. What exactly is collapsing, and where do we go from here? Let's use Britain's imploding, LOL, water system as an example. Water, the most fundamental necessity of life. How does your goddamn water system collapse in a once rich modern nation like this? Welcome, class.
I had to.
Welcome, class. This is lecture number infinity on the same topic, privatizing public goods. We don't do it, or we shouldn't. Because what happens when you hand control of a monopoly over necessities of life to profit maximizing entities? Collapse does. By way of what? Underinvestment, because the goal is, of course, maximize profits today. That creates a situation of neglect. In Britain's case, 25% of water is now just lost, and its rivers and beaches are literally covered in sewage. Look at the pictures. They're astonishing and gross. All of this adds up, and there comes a point of emergency. Bang. The system no longer works. It's no longer viable, even to extract profits from. It's been loaded with debt while bills have skyrocketed because people are on the hook for that debt. Collapse. When we see things like water systems collapse in nations like Britain, the world is in a profoundly troubled place. But what is the lesson here? What's it really telling us? Welcome back, class, to lecture number infinity plus one on the same topic. Capitalism is failing, and it's failing for the last time. You see, Britain's conservatives got this dumb idea from America's fanatics. America privatized most of its systems in the 80s and 90s, and as a result, of course, is that the average American is basically impoverished. We'll come back to that shortly when we discuss Bidenomics. So the Tories in Britain have been playing this game. Privatize, harvest a public utility for profit, collapse it. Oops! Time for the average person to pay the bill for decades now. But this time is different. Why? Because, well, remember that giant smoke plume literally covering now a large portion of the planet? What is it? That's Canada's boreal forest burning at breathtaking scales, emitting more carbon by some estimates than the country's energy did for the whole year. Translation: we are watching a climate change tipping point beginning to hit. The boreal forests are a critical one. They burn, they emit vast amounts of carbon, they store none because they're well gone. Bang, temperatures now rise that much more. In that context, we need functioning systems, robust ones, or else. Now, we're not just playing silly ideological games anymore. And the result is, haha, look, we made those people poor. Now we're playing a game of Russian roulette. Not having a functioning water system in an age of climate change It's gambling with your society's survival. And if you think I'm kidding, go right ahead and think about what happens to water consumption and demand as temperatures rise. Britain imploding while Canada burns. Canada's boreal forests are on fire. Another quantum leap forward in extinction. Most of us don't see that yet because, well, who's even talking about it much anymore? But the truth goes like this. Level 1, if you want levels for the age of extinction, was the climate beginning to alter. Level 2 was the arrival of the megascale impacts of climate change, orange skies, mega fires, mega monsoons, stifling heat waves. Level 3, though, that's watching climate tipping points being hit in real time. Just being able to kind of observe them like we're living in some kind of insane dystopian eco thriller, except it's just the banality of the everyday news. What's happening today, guys? Oh, nothing. Just watching the boreal forest burn. Cool. No biggie, right? I mean, it's one of about a dozen tipping points that push the planet over the edge into killing heat. But hey, party time. I've got tickets to the Fast and Furious Part 475. We are now at level 3. I don't think that understanding that has nearly dawned on us yet. But of course, desperate, horrified scientists try to send the message. The Amazon dying, the ice sheets off the charts meltdown, ocean temperatures bewilderingly, shockingly, scorchingly hot. These are all climate tipping points. This is a level past the mega scale impacts of climate change are here. That's mega weather and its associated perils. But this is gulp. We're literally seeing doom loops emerge now, positive feedbacks that accelerate the problem out of control. Now, let's come back to the idea of collapse. I've set the context a little better, but I think for a moment how shockingly fast we've ascended through those abstract levels for a moment. A decade or so, climate change was some kind of abstract theoretical notion for the average person. Level 1. Then came level 2, orange skies, megascale impacts. Today, California is becoming uninsurable. That happened in less than a decade. And today, we're at level 3, watching tipping points being hit. Just mere years after hitting level 2, experiencing megascale impacts for the first time. The timeline is startling. It's accelerating. We barely have time to process level 1 extinction before, Jesus Christ, we're descending into the next one. Level 4, by the way, if you want to know, includes things like wet bulb temperatures being exceeded suddenly. Human habitation ends as we know it, and maybe on those days, people in the wrong cities or regions or towns just die in very large numbers because the human body can no longer function. But I get ahead of myself. Because of this happening so fast at lightning speed, we are now deep into collapse. Let's go back to Britain. There is imagining that it can still play these foolish games. Haha, we're going to privatize our utilities, even though we know there's going to be an emergency in a while. It's fine. No biggie. We'll just fix that problem later. But now, there is no later. This time, the price is going to be that Britain doesn't have a functioning water system, right as we hit level 3 of extinction. Climate and planetary tipping points. Want to take that bet? Would you bet on a society like that? what would you say the risk is? Every single insurance company and bank and whatnot on planet Earth is thinking about that right now and sending the cost of Britain's debt, LOL, soaring because of rank, surreal, self-indulgent stupidity like this. Indulging in yesterday's foolish political games instead of building a functioning society. We are out of time. This is it. Now, societies that don't have functioning, robust systems, poof. Think of the way California became uninsurable. America's largest insurance company just pulled out. Britain's water system imploding as capitalism failing in one way, and that's failing in another, saying it can't handle the risk. Remember the poor doomed sub? What do you think of the moral of that story was? Let me tell you mine. There is no force that we can resist. There is no force we have that can resist nature. Not even mega billionaires banding together with all their money and power could resist the simple pressure of the ocean. It snapped that sub like a twig. It imploded it like a shattered country. Get the comparison? Because it's real. In the same way, capitalism is now failing in ways of emission and commission. Omission, the largest insurance companies on the planet are saying they don't have nearly the resources to insure against extinction. So sorry, too bad, no insurance for you. Commission, greedflation as prices skyrocket or privatized public utilities that are bound to fail, especially in an age of extinction. Mismanaged, neglected, really, for the last fraction of a penny to be extracted every microsecond. Capitalism is a weird place. Parts of it are actively telling us the game is up. We can't handle this. This is too big for us. All the money we have hoarded away can't do anything about this. And the other parts of it, the less responsible ones, are just out there profiteering with glee and abandon off the wreckage of what's left, from water systems to food supplies. Where does that leave us? With thing like Bidenomics, perhaps. It's a bold step and a brave one. It's a plan basically to restore America's post-war golden age in a hard sense, to make it an exporter again. This time of stuff the world desperately needs, from microchips to clean energy and manufacturing. Good plan, excellent one. But there's a catch. The average American could care less. Why is that? First, let me tell you how they feel. 80% of Americans are pessimistic. That's an incredibly high number. About their own futures, their kids' futures. They feel that Bidenomics is doing much, if anything, for them. They don't feel that Bidenomics is doing much, if anything, for them. Are they right? Yes and no. Bidenomics is doing positive things, but it's a hard sell because it's a small step. Here, talk to the economist in me. America's public investment rate is about 20% of the GDP. That's shockingly low. Needs to be about 50% to do much of anything, probably. And we know, by way of Europe and Canada, which are the only two regions of the world left that have functioning systems or have done much of anything about climate change and emissions, at least in Europe's case. So America's investment rate needs to be more than double. Bidenomics raises it by less than 1 percentage point. I don't say this as an attack, not at all. I say it objectively, so that you understand the real political economy we're in now. Good first step, but also a tiny one, because it's so relatively small the time horizon it comes along with pretty long. So the average American feels like the economy's in the tank because for them it is. The real incomes are falling. They can't pay the bills. LOL, who can? Really, when they're in extortion of the American style healthcare or college and their lifelong debt. Bidenomics is great, but it doesn't alter any of that. It will in a decade or so, if it's successful, maybe 5 years, if we're lucky. But even then, the gains are likely to be relatively small. Americans are going to be impoverished by a lack of functioning systems. What it made Americans so poor? My favorite example of this kind of thing, Harvard and Ivy League, etc. It'll cost you an astronomical sum, more than a house. The Sorbonne in Paris is free. Americas don't have functioning systems for much of anything. Sure, you can pay health insurance, but even then, you won't get much health care. Retirement, education, childcare, non existent, more or less. This was a choice, of course, made by crackpot economists whose childish politicians like Reagan and Clinton believed privatized basic systems and what? Everything would be great because government was a leaky bucket. That's literally the title of a book about all of this that shaped these choices. So Americans had to pay private entities for public goods, and that left them financially ruined. Today, America has 4 to 5 generations in downward mobility so dire, 80% of Americans, remember that stat, basically don't think that there's going to ever be a better future again. But when you're paying astronomical amounts for basics, food, water, healthcare, energy, education, childcare, how can there be? We are now caught in between these pinchers. As societies, our systems are crumbling and breaking. They are mostly in situations of neglect, and that's the good case. The bad case is they're non existent. Like America's, everything are at the point of collapse, like Britain's water system. But even in places like gentle and wise Canada, basic systems are under stress, strained to the limit. That's true in Europe too. And in the poorer nations, LOL, you can probably guess. Pincher one. Here's the other. Meanwhile, we're descending fast into the deeper and harder levels of extinction. One, climate change as abstraction, the 2000s. Two, megascale impacts, the 2010s. Three, tipping points being hit, and you can even smell them. In Canada burning from Chicago now. Want to guess when we hit level 4? That's where we are. Our descent into extinction is happening fast, way faster than even the models predicted, which is why scientists are tearing their hair out. And that means our paradigms are not evolving nearly fast enough because the world of politics and governance, a thing called institutional inertia takes hold. Foolish fake debates happen. Vested interests defend their failures. Corruption breeds not just incompetence, but paralysis and malice. And for those reasons, we're stuck. But this is it. This is our last chance, more or less. This decade, we build robust functioning systems now, or at least the beginnings of them, for our basics, or we don't have them anymore. Britain's water system, sure, it can be fixed, but this is the last chance. A decade from now, it won't be fixable. Probably because by then, well, we'll be so deep into tipping point led climate change that just trying to muster up the resources, money, capital, time. Sorry, it's going to cost eye wateringly more, maybe too much. Go ahead and imagine how a place like Texas has a functioning anything in a decade or two. Now expand that to much of the globe, and then imagine what hell breaks loose in our already crazed lunatic politics. As people bicker and squabble what dribs and drabs collapsing systems can produce and try to keep it for themselves. Bang! There goes everything. This is where we are, on the edge of all that. Now we build, and we build for the long term, or collapse is all we have. It's in that sense Bidenomics matters. And yet, it's not nearly enough. And the Democrats should learn that from the average American's profound yet eminently reasonable pessimism. It's in that sense that surreal implosion of Britain's water system teaches us about the future. It's not just mistakes of the past, but that we can't afford to repeat them anymore. And it's in that sense we need institutions and systems now that really are fit for the future. What have we right now? It's extinction capitalism. Insurance companies who won't insure, while those on the other side of the bargain profiteer while pushing systems into collapse. Only a fool or a rube, take your pick, would seriously think that extinction capitalism is going to help us out somehow to survive this decade. The last few years have been an object lesson that it won't, because it's interested only in gain at psychotic, mindless level, and not anything like wisdom, maturity, sustenance, interdependence, or even truth. We need to outgrow that failed, busted, obsolete paradigm, and we need it now. In everything from how we think about growth to wages to what kind of toxic politics it produces to what kind of mindless consumers it makes us, instead of bright, aware, fully alive people capable of bonding and treasuring the world we're destroying and our future right along with it. That transformation is a journey in human consciousness. From what centuries of capitalism made of us, dividing us into exploiter and exploiter, consumer and producer, master and slave, animal and human, and then setting us upon one another in the name of hate, fear, conquest, control, domination, possession. Now, we need a revolution. 1,000 revolutions in the name of love, all in the name of love, from truth to beauty to consolation to wisdom to grace, deep down into whatever it's called when a sentient being locked in a cage sees the sky for the first time. I wept like a child when I watched that video. Take a look. For a while, I wondered what was the meaning of it, and now I know. Every time we grieve, so too are we reborn. We fight the deeper and deeper truths of extinction with higher and higher levels, names and forms of love. That is the journey of this century, of humanity's future, from this point on, if there is to be one. And so far, my friends, we've barely anywhere near begun. June 2020.
Wow. He does write long ones, but it was kind of, a power packed piece. And
It sure was.
that's why I thought it
sure
would fit
was.
for our ending.
Yeah.
How you guys
absolutely.
doing out there? Tommy says, do you think another intelligent species will evolve on Earth after humans are gone? If so, do you think they will learn from our mistakes? That's a $1 million question. Who knows? Can't read the future. We don't know. We don't know. So, why did you bring up the rear, Jen? And we will,
Well, we've been doing this show for a while, Sandy. I think you and I met in 2017, and it was a pivotal meeting and a good partnership. And through the years, we've talked about these things, and things have seemed dire. But I would say in the last month, things have never been more dire, and things are really coming apart at the seams, and the wheels have kind of come off the trailer. And that light that we see at the end of the tunnel is the train that's coming squarely to us. And I've never felt it so keenly as I feel it now. We are the predicament.
we are the predicament.
We are the predicament of this world.
And some of us can't handle it. And I just want to say RIP to a member of the community, Joey Casey, who's no longer with us. And I hope wherever he is, and I don't know anything about the afterlife or what happens, but I hope he found his peace. And at that, guys, rest in peace. Thank you for coming. We love you, and we'll see you. We do have things set up. We're setting up a State of the Planet with Antonio and Nicholas, me and Jen, and I think that's on the 14th. And we have a mystery guest Jennifer and I are going to have, but I'm not going to let you know yet. Not yet. This is a good one. Epic. I can't tell you about Tuesday night yet. We'll see when Tuesday night comes because I do like to do the videos I've been doing. So I love you, Jennifer, and I love you all out there. And thank you for coming. New people I see, and it's great. It's pretty terrific. All right. Au revoir. Au revoir. And we are going.
Yeah. What's the worst case scenario? Plan out in your head how it's all gonna go. So you think you got it covered, but there's always something new that you discover you've not thought about. You can never figure out every possible outcome, and you're so scared you'll get it wrong. Have a good time, but a worry after. Petrified, will they think I'm awkward? When your brain's wired for disaster, even good things leave a bitter taste. Try to calm down, thoughts spinning faster. Terrified, hide it with laughter. When your brain's wired for disaster, even good things leave a bitter taste. Even good things leave a bitter taste, yeah. Even good things leave a bitter taste, yeah. Even good things leave a bitter taste, yeah. Even good things leave a bitter taste. Something unexpected happens, you can't let it go. Caught up in your own distractions, you already know that you're gonna think about this for a while. While you try not to lose your mind, not to believe the lies that you tell yourself, that you tell yourself. Have a good time, but a worry after. Petrified, will they think I'm awkward? When your brain's wired for disaster, even good things leave a bitter taste. Try to calm down, thoughts spinning faster. Terrified, hide it with laughter. When your brain's wired for disaster, even good things leave a bitter taste. Even good things leave a bitter taste, yeah. Even good things leave a bitter taste, yeah. Even good things leave a bitter taste, yeah. Even good things leave a bitter taste. Even good yeah. Even good things leave a bitter taste, yeah. Even good things leave a bitter taste, yeah. Even good things leave a bitter taste. Worry won't change the outcome, but I've been doing this for so long. My brain keeps signaling danger, although I know that I'll be just fine. Worry won't change the outcome, but I've been doing this for so long. My brain keeps signaling danger, although I know that I'll be just fine. Even good things leave a bitter taste.